Hey, this is David with Hagerty and Redline Rebuilds. We're back on our race car. And if you're not familiar with what I mean by the race car, it's the 40 Ford race car that we got from Snowball down south.
We're running to Virginia to grab a car.
This engine right here is a 440.
We got our race car to go fix. It's going to be a little bit of a task to make some things work. Unlike most of them, we got a pretty good start here. It's all tore down, it's looking good, and we are making steady progress on that again. And to which we're here at Apex Competition Engines, and we're going to do our 440 Mopar and get that thing rolling with all the machine work. John is going to knock it out of the park for us. Ha! How's that for putting you on the spot?
That is
so
on the
for
spot.
starters, we're going over our cylinder heads, and basically the same rundown as normal. You go through, make sure our guides are good, and then inspect our seats and all that type of stuff. We're going to put hardened exhaust seats in it because with the fuel of today, with no lead in there, then the exhaust temperatures are higher. So they need hardened seats, otherwise they pound themselves to death and have a problem. So we'll put fresh hardened exhaust seats in. And then clean up the intakes, and we should be good to go.
We should do guide liners in it first, though.
Yeah.
Unless you're good with them.
No, you're probably right. It's probably best.
I mean,
Yeah. So when you
We'll go
say you
back
want
to
to do the guides first, tell me
doing
why.
the guides
Tell me
first.
why.
you have to do the guides first because if you don't, with our Surdy machine, it runs a live pilot, and if the guide isn't dead perfect,
Yep.
now you're doing the valve job on a loose guide.
So it's wobbling around.
So it's wobbling
Yep.
around like crazy.
And
So
your
you'll
your
never
seat
get
has to be concentric with
to the valve guide.
To the guide.
It's kind of like doing a block where you do the mains first because everything goes off the mains. Kind of the same thing with the heads. You got to have the guides right or the valve job won't be right.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, so what he just finished doing is basically going through and reaming all the guides out. And now we'll take and put liners down in there. And the biggest reason is A, get all the holes to size. And then the K-liners tend to be a little bit better than knurled guides. Hey, if you like what you're watching, check out the Hagerty Drivers Club. Link's right down here in the description. So final step, ream them to size.
Hone them to size.
Hone them to size. So that's not a reamer?
That is not a reamer. That is a hone.
Well, that has
It has an actual stone.
actually
on it.
an actual stone. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
We still have one more hone process to do on them. At the end, we'll go in with a dingleberry hone,
Oh yeah.
and it knocks the frailings off.
Yep.
As the last check, we're gonna take a pilot and check the valve guide clearance, but first we need to get a number off the valve.
This is really more for posterity, right?
Yeah, this
Because we already know that our guides,
We know
or
they
our-
fit.
We already know our valves go in and they move nice, but you're also going to verify that you really have proper clearance.
should be all right. Yeah, that's what we need.
Get to work.
I am to work. I'm punched in and everything. I'm all punched in over here. This is the best way. I like this part. Machining day is the easiest for me. I mean,
Stand there and look good.
I just make the final, yeah, that was great, whatever you tell me, decision. We're gonna jump right from the guides over to resurfacing the head. And you'll see that this is slightly different than some of the other ones we've used, where instead of a single cutter, this is a multi-cutter, which is cool because, well, if you're not careful, you can touch it. That's probably gonna be bad. But it separates different kinds of people. The inquiring mind, yeah. and the ones that don't want to know how it feels to have your finger cut off. And then as soon as that's done, we'll roll into putting the seats in. Okay, so basically just tram it in so it's level on that plate.
Yep, you wanna.
And then checking it horizontal, if you will. And knowing that it could be warped, what's your allowable? I mean, how close are you trying to get it?
Trying to get it to within 1.
Okay.
But notice how I skip right over the middle?
Yep.
That's just in case it is warped.
Yep.
Because trust me.
Use the ends.
Yep, you want to use the ends.
Yeah, use the ends.
Which you could deal with a little bit of twist too.
Mm-hmm.
So you just pick an end, like I picked this end, level that one, and then if the head's twisted, at least
you got an average.
Yeah, you got an average.
Got a good average. Because it'll make it flat.
Yes, it will. Whether it is on there straight or not.
At a 45-degree angle.
Uh-huh. The machine does not care.
Nope. It does.
Not too bad.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah, so when it just touches, I'll make a pass.
Yep.
I call a skim cut, just to make sure that the head's on level. I can see where it's warped, where it's twisted. Kind of gives you an idea of how much you're gonna have to take off of it.
What's your max pass when you go to make a cut?
I try to go 3 at a
But
time.
if you don't need to, you don't.
Right, because this is a machine I can walk away and go do other stuff.
Right.
You know, and I just listen for it. When it stops, I can come back, wheel it down another 3, make another pass, go do something else.
Yeah.
If you're taking 5 at a time, but you only need to take 8, you just blew 2 past.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and you're taking stock off, it doesn't really need to be taken off.
Right.
When we start getting into, like, we've cut 15 or 20, then you better start looking at the intake manifold.
Start to move it away.
Yup. Yup. Which you really should be checking that intake manifold whether you cut 5 off it.
Right.
But
right.
when you start getting up that high, bolt holes start getting pretty misaligned.
Yeah. We're all set up on the Hagerty, and John's gonna bust out these seats, the old seats, and the exhaust, and then we'll press in the hardened ones, and then of course cut the intakes to basically wrap up the cylinder heads, right?
Yep.
That's really it. That point. How many times you uncovered cracks right there?
No, I don't recall ever finding one that way. But thanks for jinxing me. No, I'm gonna.
Hey, you're welcome. Glad I could help.
We've cut them for a press fit, 6/7 thousandths. We put them in the freezer, help shrink them up a little bit so we don't have to beat them so hard to get them pressed into the housing board.
Right, okay.
So cut this last one and we can start knocking them in.
Okay. Okay, so once the seats are pressed in, then you'll go through with the cutter and put the angled.
Yep, we'll cut the
Angled
3
lands
angle
on.
or 4 angle or 5 angle, whatever we decide to do.
Okay.
We'll cut them in at that time. Probably gonna have to go a little deeper with that. That's quite a bit closer.
On the stock rocker arm assembly, it uses a shaft that holds the exhaust and the intake rockers. But those rockers are just stamped and they have no adjustment in them on the stock form. So the height of the valve stems need to be square and in the same height. So then when you set the rocker shafts down, it preloads into the hydraulic lifters the same amount or within that zone. So that's what we're going through an extra little bit of a pain to make sure we're using this side of the valve that they're level, because then that tells us that the other side is level.
Look at that.
All right.
Right where it landed.
Intakes are perfect.
It's right to that exhaust.
And the exhaust too?
The exhaust is within
I mean, it got
a
it
thou or two.
perfect. We just confirmed that basically we set all the intakes at one height, and now we're going to go back and finish up the exhaust, but all the intakes are dead level, and the one exhaust that we did is sitting within a thou, and that's great. Now, if we had a issue where it wasn't, all we would have to do, so let's say we were done and we had a seat that was too deep and this stuck up too high, then you just take this over to the valve grinder and knock off the tip whatever amount you need to. But we don't have to do that. That's just to have a little crosshatch in there, right?
Knocks the frailings out. Any of the scratches that we put in it from the live pilot or the guide cutter.
Cool. Okay.
Makes it look pretty.
Well, final cleaning step here on the guides, and we'll bag them up, throw them in the truck. We'll get onto the block. Right?
Yep.
Sound like a plan?
Sounds like a plan.
Sweet.
We're attaching the BHJ fixture to the block. We're doing that so that when we resurface the block, one, we can equalize the deck heights to each other so they're both the same exact height. But with this fixture, you can also do it square decking, so we can correct the deck angle, and we can also get both decks at the exact same height.
So this is a slide hammer. Basically, it's a collet, and the slide hammer, as it pulls it tight, and this will allow us to pull the dowel pins out of the top of the head, or top of the block.
Now give her a slide.
Ooh, it moved.
Did it?
Yeah, it's lifted a little bit. See it?
Yeah. No? Okay. We'll piss with it more when we get it up in the...
Yeah.
Then we
Up
got
off
something
the
to
floor?
rock. Yeah, up off the floor where I can get it level. It'll be rock solid.
Yep. Yeah, I wouldn't lock it down. Just set it up there and be.
Yeah, at least set it up there.
Always a gratuitous torch lighting. You warped the bore.
I know. Man,
what do you think?
Should have used a welding blanket on it.
Yep. I just didn't want to. I didn't want to break it off. I figured I'd let him do it.
Let me do it? Like that?
Yep.
Oh, it did.
Here's our problem. We have one dowel pin that doesn't want to cooperate and come out with all the normal tools. So we're going to do our best here to extract it using some heat from a TIG welder. But what we're going to do is I'm going to take and TIG weld this washer to the little nub of a stub that's left. And then I'm actually going to TIG weld the nut to the washer, keep the threads open on the inside. That way we can put a slide hammer on it and pop it out. Now, when we go to pull it out, we're still gonna heat this back side of the block right here to help basically give it its best shot. Otherwise, well, no otherwise, we're gonna make this work.
Yeah, baby. Got it.
How about those apples? So that worked, but obviously this block is really hot and it's going to move around and distort. It'll be okay because we're gonna let it come all the way back down to room temperature before we mill it off. Maybe not the best fix if you were not going to mill it, but since we're gonna mill it, it doesn't matter. It'll flatten right off, everything will be good. I didn't create a weak spot or brittle or anything like that by bringing the temperature of that corner up a little bit. We'll be good. We'll be good. And of course, we're gonna put torque plates on it, so it'll all be fantastic. So as our block cools, we're gonna hop over and get our rotating assembly balanced. Now, the choice of parts I have here, I have a set of CP pistons, nice flat tops. I'll bring that compression ratio right where we want it with our basically stock heads. These pistons required also some better rods, and so I have a nice set of Eagle rods here. And then of course we're going to use our stock crankshaft that's nice and turned and ready to roll. It's just a lot of different parts relative to that crankshaft, what it was balanced to before, so we need to kind of start all over.
Yep, we got my sheet over here. I'll get all the weights of every piston, and then we're gonna take them down to the lowest weight piston. So say there's one that's 3 grams heavier.
Right.
We'll take that 3 grams out of it until they're all exactly the same weight.
Okay.
The wrist pins, we'll weigh all of those, make sure that they're all real close, and then we'll kind of sort them, each piston, you know, if there's a tenth or two here, there, until they're all exactly the same. Weigh all the rings, weigh all the bearings,
Okay.
and then we write everything down on the sheet, do a little bit of math, get a bob weight for it.
Okay. And then you also,
Yeah, we have to weigh each end of the rod, get all the big ends the same,
right,
and all the small ends the same.
right.
If you've got one that's lighter than the other 7, you got a lot of work to do.
Right.
But you just grind on the pad here, or on the small end on these Eagles, it's kind of tough. You just got to massage it real gingerly around this. But a lot of times with this newer stuff, it's real close from the factory.
Yeah.
They kind of weight match everything when they put it in the box anyways. So
Right.
it helps make our job a lot easier.
Take some of that error out of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so if anybody's out there wondering, why are you going through all this pain to balance an assembly? Well, GM and Ford and Chrysler all balance their assemblies on the assembly line. We have made changes to that assembly, and I'll equate it to this from a balance standpoint. You balance your tires so they don't shake themselves apart or shake you off the road. In this case, balance the rotating assembly so it doesn't shake the motor apart, and well, then you're walking on the side of the road.
This can go one of three ways, I guess. We put the bob weights on, we spin it, and we need to drill the crank. Take a little weight out of it. We may have to
Add a little weight.
add some tungsten to it. Hopefully it's not like the last time where we had to add tungsten, weld it, grind it, drill it.
Right.
Hopefully this one's a little easier.
Nice, that looks good. It's a big piece done. The only part I know how to do. Tripped over some boxes as I was moving the crankshaft, and I forgot I had the flywheel and the balancer. Now this is an internally balanced engine, so we didn't need these on when we were balancing the crankshaft, but it's a really good idea to verify that these are zero balanced. So in other words, they're perfectly balanced.
Got it.
There we got it.
Cool.
Nice.
It's off 8 grams.
Yep. Off by 8.
And it wants it. No, never mind.
Opposite of where that's at.
Pretty much. 90 degrees to it.
All right, so like I talk about every time, buy good parts. They are good parts, but did you always check things? So we put the balancer and the flywheel both on the balancer and checked everything, and the balancer was off by 2 grams and the flywheel here was off by 8 grams. So what that meant was the factory hole that they used to balance things by probably made it a lot better, but the addition of these 3 holes made it perfect. So that piece is done. John's over getting the block ready over here and gonna surface it first. Then we're gonna go through and open all the bores up to size, hone it, send it down the road. End up taking 10 thou off to get any warp and all that out of it. Surface imperfections. It's all good to go. Move it over to the boring bar. I know our finish bore is going to be at 4375.
Yep.
With so 30 over stock. Yep. How far do you bore it here and then to leave for hone material?
We typically leave 3 to 5 thou to hone.
Okay.
You start getting over that, and you got more room to screw up with the hone,
Right.
get taper in the bore, whatnot. Anything less than 3, you're not really going to get the grooves that the boring bar makes.
Okay, so I know this looks a little bit different from lots of the other times that we do things. So based on popular demand, to see how it's done, we're gonna use a torque plate when we hone the cylinder bores on this 440. Now the whole idea behind a torque plate is you go in and torque down a mock head so it simulates the cylinder head on the deck surface. So if the bore is going to distort based on the bolts being pulled down and all that jazz, then when you hone it, it will hone it to size that it's going to be when it's all assembled. So if you were to measure a bore after that, you're going to show that it's probably going to do this, right? It's not going to be a perfect round with the torque plate off, but it will be when it's being used. Got that nice edge chamfered there, so the pistons go in there perfect. We'll run this back to the shop, get it washed up, get some paint on it, assemble it, and back in the car. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Nice job once again.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for the business.
You bet. You know the drill. Get out in the shop, go get your work done. See ya. Just lift this up.